last year you released a song with, I see that you wrote it with Lael and Mitch Wong, and you sang it with, Chandler Moore and Stephanie Gritzing, called "The Voice of God." And I mean, as I said, the language, I'd say, it wrecked me. You captured in words and song so much. I was navigating. For me, it's Matthew 4:6. I don't live by bread alone, by the balance sheet, by the strategic plan, by the cash flow, by my marketing strategy, but I live by the voice of God. Can you tell me about that song in terms of what's the story behind the song for you?
Wow. This song, I lost my grandfather in 2020, January of 2020, right before COVID hit. And during COVID hit 2 months later in March, and my grandmother had to quarantine alone in that house. And it was just such a hard time for our family, and just losing someone so important to us was hard in and of itself. And I remember being in my apartment, and I have these huge windows in my room, and it was raining really, really bad. And I was sad, I was just sad. And I started singing something out of my spirit like I usually do. And it was, "I can hear it when the rain falls on my windowsill." And that's all I said. And I was like, what am I talking about? Then I was like, on the playground with children's laughter. And I pulled out my notepad and I started writing whatever. Wow. And I didn't even know what I was talking about. I just kept saying, I can hear it. I can hear it. And it sounds like grandmama telling you where. I literally wrote the entire song, and I got to, "It's the voice of God. It can make a grown man cry," because that's what I was actually doing.
You're weeping.
Yes. And so that song, I've never written a song like that in my life. And so after I got to that part, that was all I wanted. I didn't have anything else besides that verse and that chorus. And I did the chorus twice. I went to one of my best friends in the world, literally Lael. He produced my album, Circles. I went to his loft in Redding, California, and I played it for him. He's like, "Oh my gosh, bro." And I played for Mitch, and we pretty much write the second verse that you hear on the song. And this song is literally such a piece of art. So after that, this is the very end of the process. I get home and I play the entire song through, and I'm just worshiping the Lord. And I get to the it's the voice of God. It's the voice of God. That wasn't written yet. But as I sang it, that came out of spontaneous worship in my house.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, it's the voice of God. And I was like, whoa, what if I get like 3 background singers or something to do it? I don't know. And I threw it. I literally wrote that entire song, bro. And that was it. Threw it away. Never thought about it again. Me and my girlfriend, we went out to pizza, and we get in the car. And I said, "I want to play a song for you that I wrote a long time ago, a while ago."
How long? What was the gap of time?
Maybe 6 months, which is in the music world, that's a long time. Like, you've forgotten about. I've written so many songs after that, But I'm like, I just remember, I'm like, I want to play this for you, get your opinion on it. After I play the whole song for her, she looks at me and she's like, "Dante, that's the best song you've ever written." She's like, "Do you know how good of a song that you need to release it now?" And I'm like, really? She's like, that just is, that's monumental. That's life-changing, And so I call my label and I'm like, "Hey, in 2 weeks, can we just rent out a camera crew and get an empty studio, and get Stephanie and Chandler to come in and do some ad libs to record this?" And they said yes. And so we recorded that in the next 2 weeks. That's the entire story of that song. Wow. It's a piece of art. Like it was like structured over time. It took a long time. And so many people had to confirm, which never happens for me. Usually I'll just release something. But that is a really important song. And I've even been like, I'm going to release an entire EP named The Voice of God. And it's going to be strings and just keys and me singing songs of that nature.
I love it. So it came out of grief and loss and
Yeah.
isolation and pain. And it just spontaneously came out of your spirit. It was actually almost like God speaking to you through yourself. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's the voice of God. And can you remember what that felt like as that bubbled out of you standing in front? There's literally rain on the windowsill. What did that feel like?
That's such a good question. I mean, I'm just, okay, I'll say this. I'm very self-aware, and I can feel when God is trying to like do something in me. And that's the way I can explain it.
Yeah.
It felt like God was trying to do something in me, like trying to change something or trying to teach me something. As soon as I said it, like as soon as the first phrase came out of my mouth, I immediately was aware. I was aware of what heaven, was trying to communicate in me. I didn't know exactly what the song was going to be in and of itself, but that feeling was just that. It felt like something's happening. And yes, I feel broken, but it even overrides that feeling.
Yeah.
It even overrides the original reason for the song.